Tonight on Joynews, Prime Electoral Commission responds to NDC flag bearer John Mahama on his decision to end his tour of various polling centers due to the non-adherence to COVID-19 protocols, describing it as unfortunate.
It's unfortunate that our former president, in his tour or during his tour, experienced the adherence to the poor adherence to the COVID-19 protocols.
We'll hear from the NDC campaign team to the Commission's call for all stakeholders, including the ex-president, to help ensure adherence to the protocols. Parliament to admit only half of number of MPs, a few journalists, and no member of the public for the mid-year review and budget statement tomorrow in the House.
Honourable members who are unable to find seats may monitor the presentation in their offices. Alternatively, such members could be seated at the public gallery. Government of Ghana comes under criticism a year after signing deal with U.S. oil giant ExxonMobil for petroleum exploration without a fiscal impact assessment.
PP government misled Ghanaians into thinking that it was only continuing with the negotiations started by the NDC government, and so there was no need to go through that new default position established under Act 919, which is the open competitive bidding.
We'll bring you details as the firm is granted immunity under the Foreign Transaction Act, which imposes restrictions on transfer of currencies abroad. Also in this bulletin, worrying trends as motorcycle accidents killed 440 in the first half of 2020.
About 2,080 out of the 6,822 injured victims were motorcycle, and therefore it is a challenge.
We'll have details in a report, including what the National Road Safety Authority is doing to keep this alarming situation. And in business,
close to 4,000 gas tanker drivers embark on sit-down strike over unpaid salaries and other grievances.
Yes, we decided that right from today we are going to put our keys down, and we are not moving until our concerns are addressed.
My name is Aisha Ibrahim. We're live from our studios in Kokomlemle on digital address GA09925339 on your digital terrestrial television, because we are free to air, and on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. Many thanks for choosing us. In our very first story, there's a worrying trend of how road traffic crashes involving motorcycles has killed 440 and injured 2,080 commuters in the first half of 2020. The figures from the Motor Traffic and Transport Department indicate motorcycles crashes recorded a 12.98% increase between January and June this year. There's more in the following News Desk report.
According to the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service, there's been 2,553 motorcycle crashes in Ghana between January and June. 2,080 were injured and 440 people were killed. The crashes show a 12.98% increase within the same period last year.
Everyone is against Okada. But the thing is, if it's a motor accident, it's not only motors that get accident normally in Accra here. You have been seeing cars too having accident, depending on what? On the driver or the rider. Because if you are careful, I don't think you will get an accident. It's your roughness that will bring the accident. But the most aspect is the drivers. Most of them are the drivers, the car drivers, especially the taxi and then the Uber drivers. Yeah, because it's like we are having that kind of we are having some problem together that I don't know, they envy us. So anytime we are in the middle going on, even you blow horn, but you see him, he's trying to turn his steer to you, even not to overtake you, just to cross you. You see, so that's why normally you'll be hearing that Okada riders, they've been breaking a cars. It's not like if I'm in the middle person, you are trying to block me, I'm giving you horn about 5 times, and you are not. Meaning you want to kill me. So I'll do whatever I can do, then I'll pass by.
So what do you think?
Okay. With the cause of the accident, is like most of the drivers don't take their time for us on the distance because they have in mind that riders are not to use road. So like they need to take their time for us. And also most of the motor riders too don't take their time doing riding. So it's also the cause of accidents. So I think if the government can come in and then make a law so that we, the motor riders too, we can make use the road appropriately.
Actually, what will prevent the accident is they should try and repair the traffic lights, those who are spoiled. They should try and repair them back. And then as we riders too, some of us too, my advice to the riders, they have to be careful. You understand? They have to be careful with the riding. And then the car owners too, especially the taxi drivers, they have to be very, very careful too. Because sometimes too, it's not only the motor riders. The taxi drivers too, they are also riding careless. So my prayer is that everybody drive safely.
Here's Head of Education, Research and Training of Motor Traffic and Transport Department, Superintendent Alexander Obeng.
Motorcycle is still surging and impacting on life worryingly. So the motorcycle challenge is obvious, even within the data in Ghana, that motorcycles are getting involved in a lot of crashes and killing a lot of them. Because with the motorcycle, you observe that about 2,080 out of the 6,822 injured victims were motorcycle, and therefore it is a challenge for us.
Which areas are we seeing more of these cases?
It's across, but the high incident, particularly in terms of death, is worrying these days when you look at the data from Ashanti region, for example, and then put Accra, Tema together. You have two regions, and then of course, when you look at it, what follows us, that of Eastern region, and Volta is also rocking shoulders.
Meanwhile, the number of commuters killed in road traffic crashes between January and June 2020 is 1,141. The figure dropped from 1,251 in the first half of 2019. The data showed a 22.85% decrease in pedestrian knockdowns, as the figure dropped from 1,523 last year compared to 1,175 this year. Also, the number of pedestrians killed dropped from 381 between January and June 2019 to 305 in 2020.
Foreign Affairs Minister Shelley Ayoko Boche says 125 Ghanaians have been deported from the USA as part of arrangements that led to the lifting of the visa ban imposed on Ghana last year. She says 22 others are currently awaiting deportation from the United States when COVID-19 travel restrictions are lifted in pursuit of the agreement. She has also been responding to questions on the floor of Parliament.
During the period of the sanctions, 125 Ghanaians who had been ordered to be removed from the United States were deported. Currently, interviews for persons cited for deportation are ongoing as agreed between the two sides. However, in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, the issuance of emergency travel certificates to facilitate their removal have been deferred until borders are reopened. It should be noted that both sides put in place modalities intended to facilitate and ensure that a procedure was followed in the identification and issuance of the appropriate travel documents in accordance with Ghana's obligations under international protocols.
Let's take in Parliament and also stay on the upcoming budget review, because only half of the total 275 members of Parliament will be admitted into the chamber on Thursday when Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta delivers the mid-year budget statement. The rest of the MPs would have to monitor proceedings on television
in their offices or sit in the public gallery. Speaker of Parliament Professor Michael Quay announced that as part of measures to ensure social distancing to avoid spread of COVID-19, MPs will sit an extra seat apart. The chamber will thus not be filled to capacity. MPs will be allowed to get in on a first-come, first-served basis. Professor Michael Quay announced no members of the public will be allowed into the House tomorrow, and no one will be allowed to mass up around Parliament. Media attendance in the House will also be limited to 25 journalists. Professor Quay says the Security Office has been directed to enforce the protocols to the latter.
Honourable members of Parliament may note that there will be free sitting in the chamber. All name tags will be removed for tomorrow. Members may only sit on alternative seats, such that there will be an empty seat between every two members seated. Honourable members who are unable to find seats may monitor the presentation in their offices. Alternatively, such members could be seated at the public gallery, where no others will be admitted to follow proceedings. 3. The general public is by this informed that regarding tomorrow's sitting, the protocol that debars all visitors to Parliament and especially to parliamentary sittings remains in force. To that end, the public gallery will not be open to members of the public. No members of the public will be entitled to attend Parliament tomorrow. 4. The program will be aired on both state and private media, and the general public may follow proceedings from the comfort of their homes and offices. The Public Affairs Department are to ensure that the program is aired live for the benefit of all Ghanaians. 5. The Director of the Public Affairs and the Dean of the Press Corps are also directed to ensure that there is social distancing at the press gallery, where only limited members of the media will be admitted. The usual parliamentary press corps. Others are to please get their information from them and stay away from this house. It is useful to state that having regard to a limited space available, media personnel other than those identified as members of the parliamentary press corps will not be admitted into the house. Other media persons may obtain their information from the parliamentary press corps or from live broadcasts. The Marshal is accordingly directed to ensure full compliance. To emphasize, no crowd will be allowed outside the chamber area. Members should please refrain from moving about the chamber, touching other chairs and tables and going to sit next to others. Social distancing is imperative.
Meanwhile, the House is all set for the presentation by the Finance Minister. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo has been interacting with some MPs ahead of tomorrow's presentation.
There are very mixed expectations right here in Parliament ahead of the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Attah's appearance to deliver the mid-year budget statement. Well, for those on the minority side, they think that there will be nothing in it that will change the fortunes of the country, particularly approaching the 2020 elections. But those on the majority side have very high expectations, and they think it will be a good opportunity for the good record of the NPP administration, as they describe it, to actually be projected, even as the Finance Minister shows up tomorrow. Let's get very quick reactions from two MPs. The Member of Parliament for the Keta constituency, Richard Koshiga, is joining us, just as Daniel Ochima-Boaji, the MP for Bantama, who is a member of the Finance Committee. Honourable Koshiga, any huge expectations ahead of tomorrow's processes?
I don't think that I expect the Finance Minister to do anything more than what he's been doing, to come and sermonize to the Ghanaian people in Parliament. He will obviously come and quote scriptures, to, as it were, calm down the nerves of Ghanaians to expect that, oh, this is somebody who has something meaningful to tell them. But it's all going to be a pack of vile propaganda that he'll be doing on the floor tomorrow. We've seen it in the past. The things that he said, none of them has been realized. We have achieved nothing. Jobs have been lost even before COVID-19. So COVID-19 cannot be an excuse. COVID-19 only provided for them the space and the avenue, to loot the state coffers.
Your expectations as well?
Joe, just let me say that it's quite unfortunate to hear a senior, in my own terms with him, because he was here before me, speak the way he's spoken. I'm quite disappointed. But that is not the fact. The fact is that today you and I don't sleep in dark annex anymore, because you've managed to clear doom so and sustain it. Even the energy crisis that we inherited, right? That now you and I have to cough about $1 billion to deal with it because of our friends in NDC decision of take or pay. We are managing through it. The finance minister has done very, very well. The expectations are not going to be anything. You know what to expect, so to say, because we are in global crisis of COVID-19. The pandemic, it has effect on every economy. No country was prepared.
But still, you still think the economy is in better shape than what the NDC?
What I want to say is that I just wanted to dispute what my honorable colleague said by providing him concrete examples of what we have done to show that the MPP government under the leadership of Nana Akufo-Addo, with the finance minister and all other ministers, have indeed delivered. And that the things that he's talking about, that we have done that in propaganda, he is even living it.
Summarize that.
Is he telling me that he's not enjoying COVID relief of electricity and power? And you come and say it's nothing? So look, if you want to talk about it, look at the economy, where it was. 2017, when picked up, it was very bad. We stabilized it. Interest rate has gone down. Policy rate is now about 14.5%. Right? The light is on. We are managing through the deficit. Okay, responsibly. We have eased the burden on Ghanaians.
So those are some members of parliament there with expectation. It's all happening in the next few hours tomorrow morning by 10 a.m. And then we would wait and hear what Kenoforiata will be telling parliament.
And that was Opoku Gakpo with some comments ahead of the finance minister's presentation of the mid-year budget review to parliament. Still to come in this bulletin, Electoral Commission response to NDC flag bearer John Mahama on his decision to end his tour of various polling centers due to the non-adherence to COVID-19 protocols, describing it as unfortunate.
It's unfortunate that our former president, in his tour or during his tour, experienced the adherence to the poor adherence to the COVID-19 protocols.
Government of Ghana comes under criticism a year after signing a deal with U.S. oil giant ExxonMobil for petroleum exploration without a fiscal impact assessment.
PP government misled Ghanaians into thinking that it was only continuing with the negotiations started by the NDC government, and so there was no need to go through that new default position established under Act 919, which is the open competitive bidding.
There is more plus business when we return from the break. Welcome back to Joynews Prime. Now, former President John Dramani Mahama has suspended his tour of some voter registration centers in the Greater Accra region. His decision to hold the activity hinges on what he believes are concerns over the adherence to safety protocols regarding the COVID-19 pandemic in areas such as the practice of hand hygiene and the wearing of face masks. The flag bearer of the NDC, in a Facebook post, explained that the low level of sensitization at some of the centers in Accra and Tema makes it unfavorable for his team to continue with the exercise for the time being. Mr. Mahama further encouraged authorities to accelerate the education of the public on the novel coronavirus to help contain the spread and ensure the success of the registration process. We'll be speaking to the spokesperson for the Mahama 2020 campaign team, James Boateng. But first, take a look at a video circulating on social media in which the former president is seen making his way through an excited mob. James Boateng is a spokesperson for the Mahama 2020 campaign. He joins us via Zoom. James, good to have you. First, kindly tell us where this happened. I understand one of the areas was the Richard Akwe Memorial School. Which other places did this happen?
Thank you, Aisha, and good evening to your viewers. Yesterday, when His Excellency, the former president, Mr. John Dramani Mahama, decided to go on an unannounced visit to inspect the ongoing voter registration exercise, he went to the Ododo Diodio constituency, where he visited Richard Akwe Memorial School Center. He went on to Akamaji Manche Way Center, Sempe Manche Center, and Bese Manche Center, all in the Ododo Diodio constituency.
I believe the team did not anticipate this.
Well, it's not the first time that Mr. Mahama is visiting a voter registration center in this ongoing voter registration exercise. He's been to some centers in the voter region. They were incident-free. I mean, as in the crowd did not surge. It wasn't a milling crowd, and there was adherence to the COVID-19 protocols. So it allowed him to be there and go to a few more centers. What he saw yesterday, when the crowd surged forward and when they found out or saw that he was in the constituency, the atmosphere was euphoric. Many people stormed these centers, and he did not consider it prudent to continue to be there because he saw that many people were putting themselves and the lives of others who were there at risk. And it was important that, given that he had committed substantially to engaging the public on awareness creation on COVID-19 prevention, how to stop the spread, he needed to cut short his visit. So he did, and took to social media to announce that he thought awareness is low on the COVID-19 protocols and adherence, and therefore he had to cut short his unannounced visit to these places.
Now, your flag bearer also on July 11 toured some of the centers in parts of the Volta region. Did you also face this challenge?
I didn't quite get the question.
I'm saying that John Mahama toured some areas in the Volta region on July 11. I mean, how did that go?
That was planned, so there were substantial arrangements made, and therefore everything was completely under control. It was incident-free. You would recall that was also in the wake of the heavy military deployment in the Volta region or parts of the Volta and Oti regions. And Mr. Mahama had to go there and calm nerves and also speak to opinion leaders. He met with chiefs. He took the opportunity to also go to quite a number of the registration centers. Yesterday, he decided to continuous monitoring of these exercises to go and see things for himself in the Ododo-Diodio constituency. I mean, Ododo-Diodio is not the Volta region, it's not Ketu where he went. So he decided to see things for himself. That's why he kept it on really on the low profile. But when he got there, looked like the crowd got too excited, got too tagged, and therefore he had to leave. But principally because his observation was that many of the people generally were not wearing their mask and they are not social distancing. Clearly, if he's talking about a milling crowd, then they are not wearing they are not social distancing, they are not physical distancing. And so he thought that it was important he left the scene so that the people would not continue to put themselves in danger. It's not so much about Mr. Mahama himself, but rather it's about the ordinary people who converged and who were so excited to see him. And he was excited to see them too, but he thought that he needed to...
The protocols needed to be observed.
Precisely the point. And therefore, he saw that getting himself out of the place was going to calm them and take the excitement out so that the mailing activity that was ongoing will be reduced. Because after all, what do they say? They say it is when people move. At this point, you don't want a lot of people mixing up and mingling and shouting and cheering. I've seen a bit of that video on social media today, and it was precisely what Mr. Mahama saw, and he saw that given all the attention that he's giving to promoting the COVID-19 risk reduction.
The things were not palatable. Stay on for me, James, because the Electoral Commission has described the reason for the former president's decision as unfortunate. EC boss Jean Mensah says her outfit has put in place stringent measures to ensure people observe the COVID-19 protocols. She indicates it is incumbent on all the stakeholders to ensure people adhere to those protocols.
It's unfortunate that our former president, in his tour or during his tour, experienced the adherence to poor adherence to the COVID-19 protocols. As a commission, and just reiterating what Mr. Tete has mentioned this morning, we have put in place stringent COVID-19 protocols across the country. And if you go everywhere else across the country, in most parts, these protocols are being adhered to the letter. Of course, in the beginning, we did experience some rush to the registration centers, making it difficult for the officers there, the security to ensure the social distancing protocols. But with the COVID-19 protocols, the thermometer, checking of the temperatures, ensuring that persons are wearing masks, providing water and sanitizers for registrants at the centers. This is something that the Commission has done. There's been extensive training on it. There's public education going on radio and TV nationwide in all local dialects. And again, this is not just a responsibility of the Commission. The Commission has put in place these protocols. It is the responsibility of all of us to ensure that this is done. And we are pleased to note that several organizations are working with us, the churches and so on, to ensure adherence to these protocols and to support these protocols. So it is a responsibility of all of us, because the EC has put in place these protocols. Granted, you will find one or two places where staff may not be adhering to the protocols to the letter. But I believe in many places across the country, and I can confidently say that in some 98% of the registration centers nationwide, these protocols are being adhered to.
James, your quick reaction to the EC's response.
I think it's important to say that at the personal level, Mr. Mahama has done more about COVID-19 awareness creation and how to stop the spread, perhaps than the EC chair herself has done. At the institutional level, the National Democratic Congress, the NDC, has done more about how to stop the spread of COVID-19 than the whole of the Electoral Commission and perhaps the government itself has done. In every nook and cranny, in every constituency, lorry stations, market centers, police stations, health facilities, NDC MPs and parliamentary candidates have made donations to support the COVID prevention and awareness creation. But indeed, I think that when you listen to the EC chair, she's overshot the runway. I don't know what exactly she's trying to explain, and I do not know. I mean, and this is a matter that is of public record. You can go to former President John Dramani Mahama's Facebook wall or his Twitter handle. The message he posted are still there. They've not been edited or deleted. They've not been tagged in any way. He at no point put the blame on the Electoral Commission. I do not know why the EC is hugging this problem and trying to own this problem.
So at what point will the former president or your flag bearer consider it okay to go back to tour some of the areas where the exercise is ongoing?
Well, at any point where Mr. Mahama feels that maybe subsequently where substantial arrangements have been made, or maybe in places where it is obvious that there won't be large crowd likely to see him in those locations and surge forward in a mailing way that will affect their activities on the ground. I think that will be at that point. Because yesterday, when he went and when he saw the crowd surge forward, when he saw the excitement, the cheering, and all of that, he took it upon himself to leave the place quietly and peacefully so he doesn't disturb the activity that was ongoing. And then he also took to social media to explain that he attempted doing an unannounced visit to some of these centers, but the fact that there was a mailing crowd, people not wearing their nose masks, people were not physical or social distancing, and that caused him to call it.
I'm grateful for your time.
To end the visit.
I'm grateful that you joined us. James Ejenim Boateng is spokesperson for the Mahama 2020 campaign team.
Hello everyone, I am Sandra Sinamaf and I'm here for business. Now, one of the measures we expect the finance minister to announce is unemployment benefits program. This is to cater for individuals who have lost their job during this pandemic, but Labour consultant Austin Game is not sure government has what it takes to roll out this program. So your reaction to the finance minister's comment?
Obviously not a reaction, but my point of view. The reality is that we have some data in Ghana here, whether it's with Ghana Statistical Service, with Labour Department, or with ISE, or whoever. Certainly it's incomplete, from what I know. And therefore, the inadequacies of information that is not available makes the benefit payment, if anything at all, a non-starter to start with. It's a good thing, which I have also, previous governments, present government, have been advocating and talking about. But I think that to be real, we're talking about some 14 million people who are available and ready for the job market. And it's just about, if SNIT data is anything to go by, just about some maybe 2 million plus people might be paying SNIT. That means they are in some kind of job. And therefore, if 10 million people or 8 million people will be benefiting from unemployment benefits, I think that burden will be too huge to be swallowed by the population based on what we know already about the capability of the economy to keep us going the way we are. So I think the wise thing to do is for government to continue and whoever comes into the saddle going forward, we should ensure that we open up the space for a lot more investment,
We are just a few hours away to the presentation of the mid-year budget review, and as you may be aware by now, the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has ruled out introducing new taxes and increasing existing rates despite current challenges with the revenue mobilization as well as a result of the impact of the coronavirus. Reacting to this decision, former Finance Minister Setekpe says the Finance Minister is only playing smart after introducing more taxes in the 2020 budget. We'll hear from Mr. Tekpe, but first, this is what the Finance Minister said.
Certainly, you don't sort of kick a man when a man is down. So it can be an area that we are going to increase any taxes. Compliance will certainly continue, but even still there will be forbearance to give people time to meet that. I think we need to look at the area of digital space as to what we may want to do to encourage more usage or to reduce the cost of usage for that. So that's still under consideration.
Let's now hear from former Finance Minister Setekpe, who described Mr. Ofori-Atta's move as playing smart on Ghanaians.
So you're a tax expert. Ahead of Thursday's presentation, the Finance Minister is saying that he's not going to add new taxes. As a tax expert, if you were in his shoes, will you introduce new taxes?
First of all, we are not going to increase taxes. Was it not barely a year ago, less than a year actually, when ESLA levy was increased, taxes were increased. Was it not just in 2019 that the credit that businesses get, for Get Fund and NHIR, as though it were VAT. Was it not only this year that it was removed, which is an indirect increase in the VAT rate? Have we not had personal income taxes going up as high as 35, the top bracket 35, reduced to 30? As you sit here, I don't know your salary. But
you don't want to know.
No, but if I put you in Ghana's middle income, class, right? Ghana's middle income class. Are you aware that your salary and that of many middle income countries, right? Middle income Ghanaians, that was between 10 and 15%, has been increased, and you are being taxed at 17.5%. And if it went beyond that, you would have ended up.
That's all for now. We have more business news when I return after 8 p.m. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back to Joynews Prime. To the rest of our stories, Member of Parliament for Damongo, Adams Mutawakil, says 2 suspects arrested by the military with guns for allegedly facilitating registration of foreigners are local warriors who are protecting residents from armed robbery. He explains the suspects are warriors armed with weapons by local communities after about 5 people were killed by armed robbers last year.
Some ugly event happened at one of the polling stations called TB Kojokra. TB Kojokra is an old polling station since 2008. And we've had several registration and elections at that place. The recent assembly elections, there was limited registration there. But with this registration, military were sent. I have met them, we all agree. But I was surprised the military were the very people chasing the community people away, creating panic. Chase all their wives. That was on Sunday. Yesterday, Monday, the men decided to come back, and because the women were scared to register so that when the place calms down, they can go and bring their wives to come and register. Unfortunately, when they got there, the military attacked them, eventually resulting in arrest of 2 local warriors. I say local because that road leads to Dokrupe, which is this Galamsey's hotspot. And as a result, there have been frequent attacks by armed robbers. Last year, almost 5 people died on attack. So the communities there came together, get some local warriors to be protecting them. And has since then, we've not had such rampant armed robbery attacks. But the military picked these people, brought them, and created the impression as if they had armed themselves to come and do something. No. What I have seen is that they have given the armed robbers license to now attack. And if we don't take care, very soon we'll start recording armed robbery incidents at that spot. As we speak, the registration on that police station has been suspended. And I want to appeal to the Electoral Commissioner that they should look at it, investigate, and reopen to enable eligible Ghanaians to have the opportunity to register and vote on 7th December 2020.
And it's time for Showbiz. Becky is here with the very latest. Hello, lady in black.
Hello to you, Aisha. How you doing?
Like a ninja. What's up?
Aisha, you know that, I mean, obviously, COVID is here to stay.
It's not here to stay. I mean, it will be there for a while. It must go back.
We're hoping that it will leave.
We are not welcome. We are hospitable, but for Corona, no way. We are not accepting Corona.
We won't
accept, go away.
We won't accept COVID. But one industry that has been affected is the arts industry, the people who, you know, the arts people. So I had a conversation with one artist who has sold Ghana to the rest of the world with his craft. And he's been telling us about how they've been affected and how Ghanaians should help support the arts.
In the arts industry, it has really affected us. Even before the COVID itself, we don't actually get any support from the government, you know, and you can imagine the little that we're doing also, this, you know, pandemic has taken part of the whole industry. To be honest with you, it's very difficult to survive, especially in this part of the world where arts actually has not really gone down into, you know, like the system. And it's quite challenging. To be honest with you, who is going to leave, I mean, like food to come and buy painting, especially in this, you know, season?
You've had the opportunity to travel outside and displayed your works. How is the situation like there compared to, you know, our home country?
I must be honest with you. When you do that comparison, it's going to be like a big insult to this industry because they are far advanced. They appreciate art. You know, for instance, I remember one of my exhibitions, a whole mayor, you know, moved his own people to my exhibition site just to have a look at what's actually going on. And I thought it was just going to end there, but he bought a painting. And I realized how these people were so much into the painting. So by and large, I think they understand the art industry. The best way to fight this, again, I would say that we need a very good association or a good stakeholder who will put the artists together.
Yeah, of course, it's nice.
Yes.
Do you know how to draw?
No, I don't.
One of
I
these
don't.
days,
But I think
I would try.
Yeah, I think that
be my case study. I'll use you.
Hey, auntie.
I'll draw it.
Aisha, but I think that the arts needs to be appreciated and supported because I mean these are the things that, you know, I understand that it's therapy? Like
it is.
Just look at
it. It is, and they're very expensive.
Very.
So I mean, people like this need to be supported so
Yes.
that we can also try and boost the image. I mean, of the country. What's up?
Let's talk about Ochiame Kwame. Ochiame Kwame. We have like 10 things that you don't know about Ochiame Kwame.
And that's what Kwame for you, the rap data.
Yes, rap data. You should, follow suit. Maybe.
Okay, I'll try.
You're a rapper.
And that'll be it for Showbiz. Thank you. I don't wear this black ninja thing. And for those of you watching on Joy Prime, that'll be it. The news continues on Joynews. Government was required by law to submit a fiscal impact assessment on the ExxonMobil petroleum agreement before Parliament approved the deal. But a year after the deal was ratified, the Finance Ministry has yet to comply with the Public Financial Management Act, which requires the ministry to disclose how much the tax waivers and exemptions granted the U.S. oil giant cost the state. Joynews' Kwete Nate has also been exploring why ExxonMobil was granted immunity under the Foreign Transaction Act, which imposes restrictions on transfer of currencies abroad.
In the official report of parliamentary debate on 3rd April 2019, the government of Ghana assured the Parliamentary Select Committee on Finance that the fiscal impact assessment on the ExxonMobil petroleum agreement to explore oil in Ghana's deep waters would be submitted to the House. This is a requirement under the Public Financial Management Act 2016. The document was expected to provide an insight into how much ExxonMobil's tax waivers and exemptions under the agreement is costing the state. The law provides that, quote, any legislation to be laid before Parliament or proposal submitted for the approval of Parliament shall be accompanied by a fiscal impact analysis stating the estimated effect on revenues and expenditures for the financial year in which the legislation or proposal is expected to come into effect. The fiscal impact analysis will determine the benefits the country would derive from the agreement and how this relief would impact the revenue of the country. But Joynews checks have revealed government has failed to submit the fiscal impact assessment on the agreement. Former Deputy Finance Minister and member of the Finance Committee in Parliament, Ato Forson, confirms to Joynews the agreement was approved without this critical report. He's however disappointed that for over a year now, the government is dragging its feet and has still not remedied this breach of the law.
The government of Ghana promised us that they are going to cost them and bring them to Parliament for approval. It will surprise you to know that indeed a year now, government of Ghana had failed to provide to us how much it's going to cost the taxpayer in terms of tax exemptions that we are granting.
But Vice Chairman of the Energy Committee, George Duker, defends government, arguing that such delays are characteristic of how Parliament works when it comes to ratifying agreements.
We just resumed, and at the appropriate time when we get to know the details. Yes, you know, some of these things. Yesterday I was in Parliament and I was having a discussion with a friend, and they said they came to Parliament to discuss 2016 audit report. I mean, PAC report 2016. It's not 2017. So yes, it could be a year, but I believe as far as this industry is concerned, I would say that we're still within time. Yes, it's good. You are monitoring, you're tracking.
ExxonMobil Exploration and Production Ghana Limited, according to the agreement, is to explore its deep water Cape 3 Points block offshore for 25 years if commercial discovery is made.
This day has been a good day in the sense that we have brought into our oil space a company with the strength, the reputation and competence. And that nameplate, ExxonMobil, in our oil and gas exploration space will indeed give us a lot of credit in the industry.
We are excited to bring our technology, and as you said, we have a unique place on that, and we are looking forward to working here, to opening an office here, to working with you to hopefully find and have success in this ultra deep water.
It's a good day for Ghana, and I hope it's going to be a good day for Exxon. It's been a relatively tortuous road to bring you to Ghana, but you're here. And I want to welcome you very warmly.
Government came under a backlash from civil society groups, including the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, over this deal. They sounded the alarm because open competitive bidding, which is the recommendation of the Petroleum Exploration and Production Act 2016, was not followed. This is a position the former Deputy Finance Minister, Ato Forson, has supported in the past. But chief among the worries of the former Deputy Finance Minister is a blank check of waivers and exemptions brought to Parliament a year ago. Mr. Forson places the cost of waivers and exemptions at billions of dollars based on discussions with Finance Ministry officials.
Steve Mantiao is chairman of Civil Society Platform on Oil and Gas. He joins us via Zoom with more on this. Good evening, Mr. Mantiao. Thanks so much for joining us. What are your concerns with the Foreign Transaction Act, which has been breached in favor of ExxonMobil?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers. Yes, indeed, I've had the occasion in time past to raise serious concerns about the ExxonMobil contract negotiations. I recall that I did some analysis of the contract and thought that we were giving away too much for too little. At the time, the Deputy Minister for Energy in charge of petroleum indicated to me that I was using the wrong version of the contract. But subsequently, when the contract was approved, I realized that nothing much had changed from the draft I worked on. Now, first and foremost, it's important for Ghanaians to note that this is not the first time ExxonMobil had tried to get into Ghana. This time around, they succeeded. But the first time was when Cosmos Energy wanted out of the Jubilee field, and so indicated intent on selling its stake to ExxonMobil. Of course, the then government resisted and claimed a right of first refusal, which indeed was not backed by PNDC Law 84. But somehow, Cosmos Energy decided that, well, if government would not let it sell to ExxonMobil, then it was sticking around. And that is how come Cosmos actually stuck around the Jubilee project. Subsequent to that, in 2015 thereabout, I think ExxonMobil indicated intent of entering our oil industry and started a negotiation with the then government headed by former President John Mahama. In the course of negotiations, there were some stalemate situations regarding certain reliefs that ExxonMobil was seeking, including the right to repatriate their foreign exchange and earnings 100% out of the country. The Bank of Ghana wouldn't have this and insisted that the law applied to ExxonMobil just like any other company. As a result, the negotiations stalled, and so no conclusion was reached. ExxonMobil only took advantage of change in government to come back when the current government took over power. And the impression was created that they were continuing the previously, previous negotiations that
from where the Mahama government started.
Exactly, they were continuing. When in actual fact, that negotiation lapsed, following the fact that the two parties had given themselves 7 months period within which to reach an agreement, or everything kind of collapses. And so when the ExxonMobil came, we had PND, or what do you call it, the new Petroleum Act, which is Act 919 of 2016 in place, which actually makes open contracting the default arrangement for allocating oil blocks. To escape this, the government created the wrong impression that they were not starting a new negotiation and that they were continuing. And so that is how they got around the EMP Act, which makes open contracting a default position of the law. And then this time around in the new negotiations insisted, and I mean ExxonMobil insisted, that Bank of Ghana was excluded from the negotiation team. And that is how come they got all the waivers, especially the foreign exchange repatriation waivers they got from the government. And so for me, the concern really has been how, as a people, we cannot champion a common national interest and therefore allows investors to take advantage of the political divisions among us to shortchange this country. And this is what we have ended up with. Widespread tax expenditures which have not been properly accounted for as required by the Public Financial Management Act.
How do we move on from here, especially with regards to getting government to comply with the law in such agreements?
Well, non-compliance is a violation of the law. So it behoves on anybody, any Ghanaian who feels concerned, including Parliament itself, to go to court and seek a mandamus for government to comply.
And what has your platform done about this?
Well, we are contemplating options about remedying what we see as deception of Parliament in getting the contract.
I think we're losing Dr. Manteo, but he makes the point clear that it's a violation of the law and the law must take its course. Okay, so Dr. Manteo is back. Doc, you are making the point that your platform is considering legal redress. Hello, Dr. Manteo, you're on Joynews Prime. Dr. Manteo, if you can unmute, I think we're losing you.
Right.
Great, you're back.
Right. Yeah, so the point I was making is that I cited a memorandum to Parliament which, in my view, did not present the facts as it were to Parliament and got Parliament on the basis of what I see as a misleading representation to ratify the ExxonMobil agreement. And this we think has to be remedied through some legal processes because Parliament did not have the full facts of the matter in arriving at a decision to ratify the contract. I've indeed spoken to some members of the opposition party who were privy to these issues as to how come they sat by for Parliament to be misled. They claim on that day when the contract was tabled for ratification, the minority boycotted proceedings. And so that is how come the majority did what they did. And that has actually cost this country a substantial amount of money.
Dr. Manteo, John Jinapor joins us right now. I'd like you to stay on with me. John Jinapor is a member of the Mines and Energy Committee. He's a former Deputy Power Minister and also a member of Parliament for Yape Kusogu. Good to have you, Honorable Jinapor. Why hasn't Parliament ensured that Ghanaians know the cost of waivers granted ExxonMobil? It's been a year now.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me commend you. Let me commend Dr. Manteo and the rest of the Ghanaian society who have taken a keen interest in our petroleum sector. The petroleum sector is a critical area in the socio-economic development of this country. And so if we do not guard it, we do not work assiduously to ensure that we benefit from it, eventually we would regret even finding petroleum products or petroleum resources in our country. Parliament works in a bicameral way. There's a minority and there's a majority. And so in the minority, what we can do is to push. I heard Dr. Mantiao indicate that we boycotted it. That's a parliamentary tool. If our voice is not being heard, if we are pushing for details, if we are pushing for scrutiny, and the majority insists that they would not listen to us, the only thing we can do is to boycott. There's no other way, because they wanted to take the vote on the floor of Parliament. One, we indicated that the time was too short and that we needed to do more consultation. We also indicated that looking at the cost of the project and the amount involved, we should involve civil society like that of Dr. Steve Mantiao and others, so that together we can build consensus. We are having this problem today because the majority decided to railroad through the system. If we had built consensus, if we had listened to each other, I am sure that won't be where we are, because that very issue you are raising in terms of the tax waivers and the concessions is a precondition. It's a precondition. The Act 921, specifies that you must give the cost implication and the impact to Parliament before Parliament grants such waivers. And so it's not as if you grant that waiver before you even begin to work on bringing the cost to us. And so that should have been met, that should have been satisfied before we granted that condition. But Doc, you may for the minority, you may want to push the minority further. But given the situation and the way Parliament works, we had no option than to walk out, because it was on the floor. At the committee level, we disagreed. And so if you look at the committee report, you would not get a unanimous decision. But on the floor, when the majority wants to use its majoritarian voice to approve it, we thought that we should boycott it so that it will be on record that the minority was not part of this approval. And today we are witnessing the challenges. More than a year, you cannot do a tax assessment and provide it to Parliament. It's most unfortunate. And I'm surprised that we're having all these challenges. And don't forget, we extended the tax breaks in terms of the payment from 5 years to 10 years. The Exxon agreement, for me, is not good for this country. And I think that we must learn from this issue.
What have you done so far beyond the boycotting of the approval of the agreement? It's been a year now. And how do you also intend to push for the Finance Ministry to comply with this law, requiring it to submit the fiscal impact analysis?
It's not just this one. Even the AGM agreement, the ACE agreement, Parliament was specific. We are giving you a specific period of time. Go and increase Ghana's stake and report back to Parliament. It's more than 6 months. That has not been done. After the 6 months, this government rather came with all kinds of concessions for the same agreement. We have filed questions, we have filed motions, we've served notices until the Speaker accepts those motions and allows those questions or motions to be moved on the floor of Parliament. It is virtually difficult. And I must commend you especially for taking this up. That is what we expect the media fraternity to do. And so we'll partner with you, we would work together, not just for the minority. This is for the country Ghana, so that all of us would whip up interest, and then we ensure that the nation benefits from its petroleum resources.
Dr. Mantiao, you've been listening to John Jenapo and his explanations, but your firm seeks to do something about this. How soon?
Well, we're still talking to lawyers and seeking further guidance. And so we cannot put timelines to this. But let me make the point that this is not the first time we are getting ourselves into this kind of situation. And I think Honorable Jenapo makes that point. Even in the Sinopec agreement, tax waivers were approved by Parliament 2 clear years after the project has been completed. So what if Parliament had decided not to grant the waivers? Where were we going to look for Sinopec to retrieve our money? And so as a people, we need to get serious. We've been so far very reckless with the public finances of this country, and that has to stop.
I'm grateful for your time. Dr. Steve Mantiao is the chairman of Civil Society Platform on Oil and Gas. John Jenapo is a member of the Mines and Energy Committee and also former Deputy Power Minister. I'm grateful for your time. And to the rest of our stories, the rippling effect of the coronavirus pandemic on businesses linger on in spite of the easing of restrictions. Most businesses are experiencing a decline in sales, and headquarters, popularly known as Kaya, have not been left out. Some of them say their daily incomes have dropped drastically because most of their customers who were regular visitors to the markets are staying away for fear of contracting the virus. Joynews' Agape Kwenu has been speaking to one of them, Rukaya, on Live After the Lockdown. Her report read to you.
Feature, and then the room that I'm staying, you have to pay the money for.
Rukia Abdullahi has been a head porter or kayayo at the Agbibloshi market for 5 years since she left her hometown of Tumu in the Upper West region for Accra. She tells me she came in search of a job that would earn her enough to enable her continue her secondary education. Before the coronavirus pandemic hit the country, she and her peers were earning as much as 30 cedis a day. All of that changed after the lockdown was lifted.
I went to my friend and I asked him, I said, me too, I want to follow you people and go to Accra. That, oh, when you go there, after Accra there, when you go, you get the money. And I said, okay. Then I will follow my colleagues and go to Accra. First, I can get maybe one day 30 cedi. Or if it depends how the market is, maybe like my Thursday and then Monday today, my customers will come. I can get money maybe like 40 cedi or 30 cedi. Lowest is 30 cedi.
Our daily income has dropped from an average of 30 cedis. There are hardly customers these days in the market. The situation, she says, has brought untold hardship on her and her colleagues. Rukia, who has a young child, tells me she's unable to pay her rent of 10 cedis daily for a room she shares with 4 other girls.
Because of this thing, they say COVID-19 and then the customers are not coming again. Even I have some customers from the Nigerian people. They used to come and buy, and then I will carry to machine and I ground. When I do so, they can give me 50 cedi. Last week, Saturday, I get 15 cedi, and then I have a chair. And then the room that I'm staying, you have to pay the money for. A week is 50 cedi. I call my colleagues that then we should pay the landlord. If we didn't pay, I don't think this man will.
Observing the protocols where she lives is almost impossible, but she says they make an effort to comply.
You can see some little room, but small, and then we can be even 7, 8. So we have to maybe distance small before, because now the people we are not playing inside the room. So if you put your mat here, another person too will put your own here. So and then the allowance will be there. Ask me like this. I bought a nose mask and then I have a sanitizer in my packet. The Veronica containers too, I think we give us some at the market side, but we are not taking this thing. Sometimes you can go and carry things and come and take a food, you not even wash your hand. But normally I told them that it's your own help that you are going to help yourself.
During the lockdown, Rukia and many of her colleagues had support coming in from benevolent organizations. She's appealing to government to make good on its promises to address their plight.
Now, how some people that they help me here, I can mention their name. I have their leaks here. Those people helped me during the lockdown, me and my colleagues. They normally give us some small rice, and then tomatoes. One will collect, each one room will collect 1 rice, and then for the oil and then the tomatoes, and then we'll together and cook the food and take it. When we eat, we'll put it small down, small time we'll take it again and eat. The government have to find work to we Kayayo, like I can say me like this, if they give me some small money, I can do a business small. And she even promised that she will build the hostels to us. I mean, I don't see anything up to now. You see, as the station there, my colleagues they are even sleeping outside there. Due to that, they are raping them.
Lost Zille Initiative Ghana targets headquarters on the streets of Accra and other youth in the northern parts of Ghana. Founder of the group, Teni Agana, joins me on the line for a conversation. Agana, thanks so much for your time. What support has your organization offered these headquarters so far?
Thank you so much for having me tonight. So far, because of COVID-19, most of them don't make enough money. So what we are doing, so in partnership with other organizations, we are supporting 200 KIAs. So we have KIAs in Tama Station and KIAs in Medina. So we support them, we give them uncooked food. During the lockdown, we started it during the lockdown, so we provide them uncooked food. Because they live in groups, they'll be able to cook and then eat together and all. So we provide them rice, beans, gari, oil, and other things. And UNFPA too has been one of our partners, and they've been supporting them with food and also dignity kits that support them, because right now they are not making enough to support their livelihood. Because of COVID-19, from all indication, you realize that about 30% of them have returned home because they were scared and all. But we still have majority of them being in the south, still working in Accra and Kumasi. And so for my organization, what we basically do is to support them. We believe that if you're able to develop the north, that's when girls can stay in the north, work in the north, and then achieve their educational aspiration and career goals. So what we basically do we also in the north. So currently we have about 35 girls that went home. Some of them, because of the lockdown, they went home. Others, we convinced them to go back home before COVID-19. And so what these girls do, we engage them with entrepreneurship education. So what we do is they look at their environment. What are the things that they can do to earn an income so they can stay in the north? Some of them go to school and then they come back and do the items and send it to us. If you know, the north is, we have the raw materials for shea butter in the north. So these girls growing up, you learn how to make shea butter. So they already know how to make shea butter. They can weave baskets. They can weave smoked fabric and all. So what we do is we engage them in these products. And then when they go to school, they come and do it. Others who are learning skill training. But at the same time, we have KIAs who just want to go to school like myself. They just want to go to school. I was a KIA before I had a scholarship to Ashesi University. And so we have others like myself who still want to go to school. So we are looking at other scholarship opportunities that these girls can benefit from. So that's basically what we do. We train and support them to create a source of income in the north so they can live, go to school, and also develop their educational aspiration as well.
Tani,
so
that's a very good initiative. But in your own conviction, would you say enough has been done for these girls?
I believe enough, and I think enough has been done. However, I think it has not been done the right way, right? So that brings, I think enough has been done. Looking at, from research, you realize that a lot of organizations and government initiatives and other things has been done in the north. However, it has not been done properly. So that brings me to the question, why have these initiatives not been? Why don't we see the impact? So we realize that the organizations, what they do is they don't engage, they lack multi-level engagement. They don't engage these girls before they bring the model. So they sit in their office, majority of them, and then they think, I think a KIA will like sewing. So therefore, we are doing a training for KIAs, and we are going to provide them sewing machines after, right? So these girls are not engaged in the solution, right? They don't ask them what they want, but rather they bring the idea to them. Let's take me, for example. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to have a university education. My mother wanted me to have a university education. So if you had brought an initiative like skill training, let's say you are teaching me how to sew, and at the end you will give me a sewing machine, I will join because I know I don't make enough to buy a sewing machine. And even if I go through the program, at the end of the day, you'll give me the sewing machine. I can sell the sewing machine or give it to any of my family members to benefit from it. So when I go through the program, at the end of the day, you give me the machine. And your hope is that I'll go back to the north and use it. Yeah. But that's not what I wanted. Yeah. So what I will do is I will take the machine home, and then what I will do is I will keep it there and come back.
So you are saying that the initiative or the help
must be targeted. It must really go to the people who need them, because if you give it to those who don't need it. But what do you want from government?
What I think what I would say is that, so currently what we are doing is I've partnered with other organizations. We are doing a coalition where we support the girls during, before, and after. Even before they make the decision to come here, during when they are here, and after when they make a decision to go. So I'll be calling on organizations that work with KIA so we can come together and work towards it. For government, I think we should focus on in the north. What I'm thinking is that we need to build incubators, not just centers for them, not just vocational training. We should go beyond vocational training.
I'm grateful for your time. Tenny Agana is the founder of Lozele Initiative, and she's been helping porters on the streets, popularly known as KIA. Now, top government officials today joined hundreds of mourners to mark 1 week of the passing of Chief Executive of the Forestry Commission, Kojo Usofriye, in his hometown in Ashanti region. Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia and Chief of Staff Akosua Fremopare led a host of government appointees. The Kwabre district town of Sakora Wono was the scene of a miling crowd as politicians, public servants, media personnel gathered to commiserate with the family of the late Mr. Usofriye. The former General Secretary of the NPP, also known as Sir John, passed 3 weeks ago at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital after a short illness. The 1 week rite held strictly under COVID-19 safety protocols also provided avenue for some merrymaking. NPP bigwigs eulogized late Sir John for nurturing many young politicians currently in leadership positions.
Forestry Commission, management, and staff,
whatever you see around represent the meaning of the sad demise of Sir John. You know, everybody is talking good about Sir John because of one thing. Sir John was very selfless. Sir John offered his services to everyone in society, whether you are young or old, man or woman, whether you are rich or poor, colossal or dwarf. Sir John will render his services to you. So whatever has happened to us as a fraternity has happened to the entire nation. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry in our country today is demonstrating sadness. We are all very sad. But of course, we also believe in one thing. The voice of the people is the voice of God. We are consoled from the fact that Sir John's kind gesture and good deeds on earth, he is with the Almighty God. Sir John has demonstrated to the world that it pays to live a life such as he did.
He's been a pillar. He's been a huge figure. A lot of promising young person in the party went through his hands. Myself, Samuel Uku, Antonia Beifa Kabo, Oredu, Foreign Affairs Deputy Minister, Martina J. Mensah Kosa, Perioku Jato. I can mention a tall list. Charles Owusu, and many, many more. Indeed, we have lost a huge personality. And for the young person, we will remember him for one thing, for how he stood behind the youth wing, how he nurtured and prepared the young people to be part of the decision-making body. So for Sir John, he was a huge figure, he was a huge personality, and he will continue to be an inspiration for the youth wing. I've benefited a lot from him as General Secretary, as a party stalwart, as CEO of Forestry Commission. And there's one thing, under his leadership as CEO, he created over 80,000 jobs for the youth. And that is why he is on the lips of many young people. His hometown has benefited a lot, the district has benefited a lot, the constituency has benefited a lot. So we are going to miss him.
May his soul rest in peace. And now, members of the Gas Tanker Drivers Association have laid down their tools. The details in business when we return.
Business. Members of the Gas Tanker Drivers Association have laid down their tools over unaddressed concerns. Their decision follows a ban on the opening of new filling stations following the Atomic Junction gas station explosion about 2 years ago and salary-related issues. Tema correspondent Kwame Yanka reports the decision is likely to impact supply of retail of liquefied petroleum gas in the country. More in the following report.
The Gas Tanker Drivers Association, with a membership strength of close to 4,000, will not return to work until their concerns are addressed. The drivers cited police harassment in the central and western regions, salary issues, among others, as the rationale behind the strike. Senior Industrial Relations Officer for Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, Moses Kweku Otu, spoke on behalf of the drivers.
We are not moving until our concerns are addressed. But as I speak to you, there are calls coming indicating the fact that now stakeholders are prepared, okay, to come to the table for us to talk. And so currently it remains that we are not working. But we will go and listen to them, and immediately after the discussions, we may come out with whatever feedback we need.
One other area of great concern is the delay in the implementation of the cylinder recirculation model, CRM. According to the drivers, the CRM by the National Petroleum Authority would lead to the dissipation of public funds. Moses Kweku believes MPA and other stakeholders need to take a second look at the CRM project.
The CRM system is such that these cylinders are filled and given to you, and anytime you want gas, you go to them and then change. But the fact remains that where are these depots? Okay, if I'm a poor Ghanaian worker and I want to buy 10 cedis or 15 cedis of gas, how do I buy it? We have a current system that is working. Okay, what we think is that that system must be improved. And of course, we as gas tanker drivers, together with our owners, have improved the current system.
Meanwhile, the National Vice Chairperson of the Ghana National Petroleum Tankers Union, Sunday Alabi, says their members will also join the strike.
But back to MPA, as my brothers are saying, they've blocked stations for not working because of the gas explosion at the Atomic. As we speak right now, there's a station being built at General Hospital Runabout. That place is a waterlogged, but they are building stations there. For who? But for gas, they said no. And we are giving them up to Monday. If it's not resolved, then we have no option than to join them.
Until the demands of these drivers are met, they say they will continue to park their bulk road vehicles, which is likely to impact supply and retail of liquefied petroleum gas in the country.
Now, Chief Executive of Husband Shoes, Tony Sanyaya, is urging small business owners to make use of digital platforms to market products and services. Many businesses have taken a hit due to the devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. This has forced most businesses to look beyond in-store purchases and embrace the new way of doing business online. Tony Sanyaya, who spoke on the masterclass program, says going digital is the best way for now.
Cool. So they should start from the low-hanging fruits. I mean, the importance of social media or digital marketing in this era cannot be overemphasized, you know. So yes, they should start from Facebook and social media. Now, it is said that people have mastered how to use those platforms. People have mastered how to manage those platforms. If you can't do it by yourself, seek help. That is what we do. I have actually sat through, I think, a 6-week course on digital marketing, but later I realized that no, I have to focus on other things. So I brought in a social media person to manage our pages for us. These are very low-hanging fruits, very cost-effective tools that young businesses can use to their advantage. Secondly, everybody is talking about e-commerce in this era. If you can't have your own website, there are already existing online marketing platforms that you can sign up to. You can talk about Zuba Shops, Jumia, Shop Now, and all that. Speak to them and have your product listed on those platforms. If you don't have, if you don't keep data, especially on your customers, this is the time that you have to start keeping data. No matter how small you are, this is very important. I mean, when we started, we have attended a lot of programs where they will tell you to keep records, keep data, but to a small business, when you mention data, they think of some system unit sitting somewhere collecting data. No, but it's actually taking the phone numbers, the names, and even in some cases the birthdays of your customers. It is very important. In the long run, you have to fall on this data to run your business.
Commodity market now, where crude oil sold for $44.17 a barrel, gold went for $1,864.62 an ounce. More in the commodity news update. Business tonight. Thanks so much for your time. Log on to myjoyonline.com/business for more business news updates. My name is Sandra S. and I'm going to stay home, stay safe, and stay beautiful.
Thank you for staying with us on Joynews Prime. I'm Gary Al Smith with the sport. In our first story, Isaac Dugbe, a former WBO Super Bantamweight title holder, made a return to the ring for the first time since May 2019 to beat his American opponent, Chris Avalos, via an 8th-round technical knockout. Let's go for that. Is his new trainer, and clearly he's doing some good work on Isaac. Hopefully he comes back to win the world title again soon. To some football news, where the Ghana Football Association today announced a 3-year sponsorship agreement with Macron, an Italian football kit manufacturer and apparel manufacturer as well. My colleague Mubarak Haruna was there at the FA and filed this report.
The deal was announced earlier today at the Ghana FA Secretariat. The two parties revealed that the agreement is worth 1.6 million cedis and would run until 2023. The Ghana FA president, Kurt Okreku, described the partnership as a game changer and that they would not regret.
Story of insufficient footballs reported by our dear clubs for our industry that charts its successes to the usage of these balls is indeed a very sad story. Today, we, together with Macron, have changed this sad story. And we can easily say and boast that this relationship is a game changer for our clubs.
Macron Ghana representative extolled the FA, revealing their excitement of the deal signed.
It is our greatest pleasure to Macron Ghana to work with the Ghana Football Association in partnership support in the development of Ghana football and all the supporting bodies under the Ministry of Sports. We as a sports apparel producer, we have a lot to offer to the Ghana sports fraternity and West Africa as a whole. We are really excited to be doing this project in Ghana.
The sports apparel company will be the official match ball partner for the various GFA competitions, supplying a total of 5,000 footballs every season, starting from the impending 2020-2021 football campaign.
Moving on, and in reaction to that, a GFA ex-crew member, Samuel Inimado, is hailing the agreement as proof that the GFA is working.
It tells you that we are really working hard. Go and check from the time COVID came, we were still working, we were still trying to communicate, we were still trying to meet corporate organizations, and our marketing department has started working, which is something that we all decided to do. And finally, the marketing department has secured this deal. And I know we've had reports of more deals coming in, and it tells you that we really want to change the game and really want to impact in the game and make sure Ghanaians will appreciate what we've done. And
no rest for the drama in the Premier League. That's it for the sport. I'm Gary Al Smith. Let's do this again tomorrow. Thank you for your time.